and welcome. This is the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. My name is Justin Bemwi, and Courage Ogeria is the sign language interpreter. First, let's begin with points. ECOWAS expresses concern over Niger Republic leader's claim, stands by Nigeria as it describes the allegations as baseless. Nigerian Armed Forces reaffirms its commitment to the protection of the country's territorial integrity. Plus, Senegal to repeal legislation granting amnesty for deadly political violence. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, the Commission of the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, has expressed its deep concern over the allegations being made against Nigeria and other ECOWAS member states. The Commission stands firmly with Nigeria and other ECOWAS member states against allegations that they are sponsoring terrorism. In a statement, ECOWAS noted that for years, Nigeria has supported peace and security of several countries, not only in the West African sub-region, but also on the African continent. The recent successes recorded by the multinational joint task force, which Nigeria leads, demonstrates the country's commitment to peace and security across the region. ECOWAS therefore refutes any suggestion that such a generous and magnanimous country would become a state sponsor of terrorism. It will be recalled that the federal government has denied in strong terms the purported state sponsorship of terrorism leveled against Nigeria by the military leader of Niger Republic. A Guinean opposition leader, Aliou Ba, has been arrested and taken into custody for allegedly insulting the head of the military government in power since 2021. His lawyer and party told newsmen Friday that Aliou Ba, who heads the Liberal Democratic Movement Model, was arrested on Thursday as he traveled to neighboring Sierra Leone with two colleagues. Reports said that human rights groups also denounced his detention. Ba's arrest is the latest in a crackdown on freedoms by the junta of General Mamadi Doumbouya, who overthrew the civilian president Alpha Condé in a 2021 coup. Since then, the regime has arrested or prosecuted a number of opposition figures or forced them to flee into exile. Two opposition figures have been missing since they were arrested in July, while an ex-army chief of staff, the former number 2 of the junta, and a doctor have died in unclear circumstances in recent months. A journalist from the was arrested earlier this month by men in uniform in the suburbs of the capital, Conakry, and his whereabouts are unknown, his lawyers and a press union said. The Guinea opposition has denounced the junta's increasingly authoritarian exercise of power and multiple rights violations. Now, Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko says his government would submit a legislation to repeal a law by former President Macky Sall granting amnesty for deadly political violence. From Apani reports.
Amnesty was granted just before March 2024 elections as Sall sought to calm protests sparked by his last-minute postponement of presidential elections in the traditionally stable West African country. In a policy speech before lawmakers, Sonko said, and I quote, "In addition to putting compensation for victims into the budget, a draft law will be submitted to your August Assembly to repeal the March 6, 2024 amnesty so that light may be shed and responsibility determined on whatever side they may lie," Sonko told lawmakers. It's not a witch hunt and even less vengeance. It's justice, the foundation without which social peace cannot be built. Critics say the move was to shield perpetrators of serious crimes, including homicides committed during the 3 years of political tensions between February 2021 and February 2024. It also allowed Sonko, a popular opposition figure, to stand in the elections after court convictions had made him ineligible, as well as Basiru Diomaye Faye, who eventually won the presidency. Reports said Sonko's government had pledged earlier this month to investigate dozens of deaths resulting from political violence between 2021 and 2024. Rama Pani, NTA News.
A report says the South Korea's parliament has impeached acting President Han Duck-soo this Friday, less than 2 weeks after suspending President Yoon Suk-yeol's powers over his short-lived declaration of martial law, plunging the country deeper into political chaos. The impeachment of Han, the acting president since Yoo was impeached on December 14 for declaring martial law on December 3, has pushed South Korea's once vibrant democratic success story into uncharted territory. In a statement after the vote, Han said he was saddened by what the unfolding events meant for the next generation, but accepted the outcome. Now we move to Yemen. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels on Friday said they fired a missile at Israel's Ben Gurion airport after the Israeli military reported a missile had been intercepted. The latest claimed attack by the Houthis came after Israeli raids pounded Sana's international airport and other targets in rebel-held areas of Yemen on Thursday. Again, from Apanya reports.
Houthi said they launched drones at Tel Aviv and a ship in the Arabian Sea, stating that Israeli aggression will only increase the determination and resolve of the great Yemeni people to continue supporting the Palestinian people. Israel's military earlier Friday said one missile that was launched from Yemen was intercepted before crossing into Israeli territory. There was no immediate comment on the other attacks claimed by the Houthis. On Thursday, Israeli warplanes attacked Sana'a airport, where the head of World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, said he was waiting for a flight. A Houthi official said on Friday that 4 people died in the airport attack and around 20 travelers and staff were wounded, and the WHO chief said one of his plane's crew was among the injured. The strikes against that Israeli's military called rebel military targets left 6 people dead in total, according to Houthi media, and came a day after the rebels claimed missile and drone attacks on Israel. The airport's control tower was directly hit, along with a busy departure lounge, he said. There was, however, another plane planned to land, and it landed after the attack. Frama Pani, NTA News.
And back in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu was a special guest today as he joined the congregation for Juma prayer at the Lekki Central Mosque, Lagos. Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Femi Hamzat, and other high-ranking board members of the mosque received the president on arrival. The Imam, Dr. Jamiu Ridwan, in his sermon, reminded the faithful of the transient journey through life and the need to live a meaningful life. He admonished the congregation to be conscious of their action, always seek God's guidance in their deeds, and use their existence for the betterment of humanity. The Imam enjoined leaders to always remember their responsibility to the citizens and accountability to the Almighty. He prayed God for strength and wisdom for the president to succeed in his assignment of leading the nation to greater heights. China's Central Bank on Friday announced that it has renewed a bilateral currency swap agreement with the Central Bank of Nigeria. A total value of the agreement was put at 15 billion yuan, about 2.09 billion US dollars, equivalent 3.28 trillion Nigerian naira. The People's Bank of China said in a statement on its website that the agreement is valid for 3 years and can be renewed upon mutual consent. It said that the renewal of the currency swap agreement will strengthen financial cooperation between China and Nigeria, expand the use of the two currencies, and promote and facilitate bilateral trade and investment. Nigeria reportedly loses tons of food after each harvest due to poor handling and inadequate storage facilities. However, this issue is expected to be addressed as the federal government is providing mini storage facilities to smallholder farmers and processors to help reduce post-harvest losses. The storage equipment has been developed by the Nigerian Stored Products Research Institute. Musa Value has the details.
In rural areas, many farmers dry their produce in open spaces, often right on the road. The produce, especially grains, are stored in local silos or makeshift stores. This method is particularly common among onion farmers in states where the crop is predominantly grown. These farmers in Kole local government area of Sokoto State told me that out of every 20 bags of onions stored, about 4 or 5 bags perish. This aligns with reports indicating that 30 to 50% of Nigeria's annual harvest is wasted as a result of poor handling and storage.
Sometimes you produce up to, let's say, 25 tons, per hectare, and then you now have 80% of that wasted simply because you don't have a proper storage facility.
In response to these significant post-harvest losses, the federal government is implementing various measures, including the provision of drying and storage equipment, especially designed for farmers and processors.
And today, the federal government is now pilot testing the distribution of parabolic dryers and the silos with the aim of making sure that the sole beneficiaries are the cottage small-scale partners.
You can store as much raw materials as you can now at the appropriate moisture content, and it will last long for you as much as you want to keep them and use them.
Selected farmers and cottage industrialists will receive this equipment to assess its effectiveness in real-world conditions. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Now, in continuation of our sectoral review series, security correspondent Francis Form reflects on the journey of the Police Affairs Ministry in the year 2024.
My focus is to steer the ship of the police ecosystem to embrace innovations and new ideas that enable the police to adapt to the ever-changing landscape.
Ministry of Police Affairs, the NAF Center of Internal Security Operations, expectedly came up with initiatives to be miles ahead of the criminals in forestalling their activities. The establishment of National Criminal Data Fusion Center, strengthening the West African Police Information System, and the automation of police specialized services as groundbreaking achievements aimed at enhancing Nigeria's security infrastructure under the Tinubu's administration in 2024. Senator Ibrahim Gaidam, the man in charge of the ministry, observes these initiatives are parts of the ministry's broader police reform and transformation roadmap.
The center will provide an avenue where relevant law enforcement agencies work together to pool criminal data, analyze and disseminate key criminal intelligence products to support internal security operations.
The launch of the Special Intervention Squad, enhanced deployment of tactical units, construction of modern divisional police headquarters, and the recruitment of 30,000 police constables are major steps towards achieving sustainable security.
President Tinubu's plan to recruit 30,000 constables annually over the next 4 years is a transformative agenda aimed at increasing the police to citizen ratio in line with global standards. This ambitious target is designed to strengthen community policing, ensure quicker response times, and enhance intelligence-driven policing across the nation.
the total number of arrests in the year.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun at the Strategic Managers Conference in Abuja reveals that the force has successfully arrested 30,313 suspects for various offences and recovered 1,984 assorted firearms and 23,250 rounds of ammunition and rescued 1,500 kidnapped victims in 2024.
1,438 stolen vehicles.
Let them not lose hope. We'll take care of their welfare as and when due, and we send them to various forms of trainings in and outside of the country so that they should be able to perform better.
When the Special Advisor to the President on Policy Coordination, Hadiza Bala Usman, visited the ministry for assessment of how the Tinubu's administration has fared in implementing key deliverables, she commended the ministry for resolving 100% of complaints through the Police Complaints Response Unit and breaking barriers to police recruitments.
We also encourage for citizen engagement. That citizen engagement is important because the president is keen for citizens to be aware of what his ministries are doing.
However, she urged the Nigeria police to address challenges in reclaiming communities from insurgents, build trust with locals, and ensure effective policing in vulnerable areas to ensure gains made in internal security. Francis from NTA News.
This is the news on International. More stories after the break. Don't go away. Nigeria is committed to the protection of its territorial integrity and respect for the sovereignty of neighboring countries. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, gave the indication during luncheon with the troops of Operation Fansan Yama at the 8th Division Nigerian Army Sokoto.
The operational tour launched with the frontline troops by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is to boost their morale, assess the security situation and challenges they are facing in the theater of operation. The Chief of Defense Staff urged them to exhibit a high sense of professionalism and patriotism in their conduct. General Musa called on communities to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to security operatives, emphasizing that community cooperation is critical in ensuring national security. He advised communities to vacate areas where military operations are ongoing for their safety to enable security forces secure areas. The defense chief took time to visit wounded soldiers and assured them of taking their full responsibilities.
We must all not allow anybody use our soil, and we will not allow any of our soil to be used against any of our neighboring countries.
The general also visited his alma mater, where he inaugurated 36 classrooms and administrative block and donated books as part of his community service initiative and contributions to the development of education in Sokoto State. It was a nostalgic moment at the Guinean Memorial Stadium, Sokoto, as the general reconnected with his childhood friends with whom he played basketball from Sokoto. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa, NTA News.
The Nigerian military has clarified happenings surrounding the alleged misfire of two communities in Sokoto State, where an estimated 10 persons lost their lives. Defense correspondent Nachat Tijani reports.
Director Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba said most of the casualties came as a result of secondary fire.
In Gidan Bisa and Gidan Rutua, in which we conducted airstrikes on the 25th of December. The operation, which should have taken place on an earlier date, had to be rescheduled to the 25th. It started with pre-operational intelligence, surveillance and recognition missions to confirm the terrorist activities within the general area. Having confirmed, aircrafts were dispatched to conduct precision airstrikes on the identified hideouts at about 0600 hours on that day. The strike was executed with precision-guided munitions to minimize collateral damage. They had minor impact on the surrounding villages. The airstrike indeed hit logistic base of the terrorists, which led to secondary explosions, and it was these secondary explosions that led to some casualties that was earlier reported.
Now, in the spirit of the festive season, Governor Demola Adeleke has granted clemency to 53 inmates across various correctional facilities in the Osun State. A release by the spokesperson to the governor, Olawale Rashid, says the governor acted on the recommendations of the State Advisory Council on prerogative. 4 individuals on death row, including one Sunday Oluwokere and Sunday Morakinio, who were charged for capital offences of armed robbery in 2014, received full pardons. It would be recalled that there was a public outcry a few weeks ago on the case of Sunday Oluwokere, whose parents alleged was sentenced for stealing fowl, and the governor promised to look into the case. Among others, granted clemency were 30 individuals convicted of minor offences whose remaining sentences have been completely forgiven, while 6 others on capital offences were granted outright release due to their health circumstances. One inmate's death sentence was commuted to a 15-year prison term. And people in riverine communities in Kogi State are appealing to relevant authorities in water transportation in Nigeria to produce and distribute more safety jackets to safeguard the lives of Nigerians on waterways. And this is coming from a cross-section of travelers in Lokoja, Kogi State. Solomon Aide completes the story.
In the past, many people consider water transportation as one of the safest means of transportation, but with the happenings in recent time, both mishaps resulting to loss of lives and properties in different parts of the country have raised the concern of relevant authorities to issue warning to boat operators to comply with safety rules, especially during the Yuletide, to avoid any mishap on the Nigerian waterways. Curious to know how these regulations are being followed, NTA News visited Pata Market in Lokoja, Kogi State, where people came from different parts of the state by river to speak their minds on water transportation situation in the area.
Just some enter, but we don't used to wear the safety clothes.
I want to load now to cross. If I want to cross now, then I use my lab jacket.
At the time of filing in this report, the National Inland Waterways Authority officials were not available to speak on the matter. However, the Pata Branch Union Chairman of boat operators in Lokoja, Abdullahi Mohammed, speaks on measures so far put in place by the union to ensure the enforcement of rules and regulations on waterway transportation.
We gather our members, we lecture them. All the language is about safety.
The boat owner, I always advise them to not take overloading and talk to their passengers. They should not quarrel in the boat and leave peace. Some don't know water, don't know how to swim. This is the first time for some people to follow boats and cross because they are going far. So when they enter, we arrange them well proper before.
In Lokoja, Solomon Ayedehi, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has extended heartfelt condolences to the government and people of India on the passing of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Singh, India's Prime Minister between 2004 and 2014, died Thursday at the age of 92. Prime Minister Singh's official visit to Nigeria in 2007 was historic when he had the opportunity to address a joint session of the National Assembly, a privilege accorded to only a few global leaders. President Tinubu pays a tribute to Dr. Singh's dedication to strengthening the Nigeria-India relationship, noting that his diplomatic efforts remain a reference point in the history of the bilateral relations between the two nations. Let's have a quick check on weather prospect. This is where we end the news. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Justin Bemi, and Courage Ogere has been the sign language interpreter. And we say do have a good evening.